My father was a contracts manager for Henry Brothers. Henry Brothers were a company that carried out work on security force bases throughout Northern Ireland. About 2 or 3 days later, and I remember this as clear as day, I had to go to Forster Green to identify my father's body. And that is an image that will stay with me till the day I die. It was just a look of shock, the look of horror on his face. And it's just no one, I wouldn't wish anyone to have to go through that.
Elizabeth was our only daughter, only child. And it's only natural that if you have two people in your life 1 minute and the next minute they've gone, you just don't know how it's going to affect you. For us, the whole of 1978 was really a blank year. I can honestly say that it was months before I started to come round.
The Crawford's son-in-law, who'd been critically injured in a car crash 2 years beforehand, had, it later emerged, actually escaped from the blaze, but went back inside in search of his wife.
Daddy was 22 when he was murdered by the IRA in Argo. And he was doing something different every day. That's what he loved. Because one day he could have been picking litter up, or the next day he could have been cutting the grass, or out in the bin lorries. And he was out in the bin lorries the day that he was shot. Daddy was on the bin lorry, and they shouted his name before they shot him. And they did. They didn't just do it once, so they didn't. They had shot him 9 times, and twice in the head. So they had.
It makes me angry. I never got to know my mummy. I was deprived of her when I was growing up. She was the best in the world.
At the family home of bandsman Richard Fice in Cardiff, floral tributes have been arriving throughout the morning. Friends said Richard, who was 22, had lived for music and had transferred to Deal only 3 weeks ago to get more experience of orchestral work.
Quite frequently I'd hear him practicing and it sounded really lovely. You'd stop to listen.
But the murder was recently reinvestigated, and a new report found that rather than trying to rob the young English soldier, local people had tried to save him. For his family back in Brighton, that has brought some consolation.
Sorry. Don't worry.
40 years later, the truth about what happened has finally been revealed.
We was always told that they came and tried to take his gun off him, and that never happened. And the way it was given to us, he was on his own, and that wasn't the case. And so he knew that he was being given the help. He wasn't just left to die. And to me, that just made a huge, huge difference, to find that somebody really wanted to help him. And a lot of people did help him.
I think my husband dying the way he did, it's rather like somebody dying in a war. He was a very good and a very, very gentle man, and I always felt that somebody so kind and gentle as him, it was extraordinary that he should have to die in such a violent way.
What had Tony Berry done to deserve this end? What had Roberta Wakeham done to deserve this end? This is no military action. This is a cowardly terrorist act.
I had just left home to go to the shop, and when I came back my mother was gone.
Your mother was gone, and a few days later, you got the news that she had been murdered, or at least disappeared, as the expression was in those days.
No, we had her purse returned to us with her wedding ring in it and her engagement ring. We didn't know for 22 years what happened to my mother.